Because I know someone has to have questions, because when you talked about the essay writing party and the 25 essays and people at the table, it was, how did they do that, or what is such a... So I want these questions. And now we'll have Dr. Burrell Cope coming up. He's an administrator in the Gwinnett County school system, and he's going to talk about actually being in school in the system and how to cope with your child.
How's everybody doing? Let that ride right there. He said, let your child go a long way. Oh, boy. I don't want my little baby girl leaving nowhere. That's the girl right there. Well, she just, hey, I got a long way to go. Well, anyway, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to share. And with this great event, I wish more people would have been here because this is awesome. I love my millennial guys up here sharing. It's so good to see young, positive black brothers sharing, isn't it? And I'm just throwing it out there like that because the media, and I'm being honest, the media, it portrays our young brothers. Well, one person said, most of them are jobless and homeless with no job, no integrity. But I don't want to go down that road right now. But it's great to see our young brothers doing their thing, and I'm so inspired by that. Now, today I want to just talk a little bit. I'm not going to be long, pretty quick. But Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon which can change the world. And my mother used to always tell me growing up that no matter what people take from you, they can never ever take your education away. I used to hear that growing up like, Mama, please, please stop talking like that. But she used to preach that to me every single day. My mother wasn't an educator. My mother finished high school, went to St. Louis, got married, and then went back to school. But one of the things that my mother and my father did, they instilled education in our souls and our heart. And I was a BNC student growing up, and that was all right being in the hospital. I was cool with that until I got to college. When I got to college, my world changed. I failed out of college, y'all. I went down to Georgia State because school always came pretty easy for me. I was a BNC student, didn't know how to study, just kind of went on the shirt tails of what I knew. Went down there and said I wanted to major in biology. I had biochemistry, physics, all in the same quarter, didn't know how to study, and ended up failing out of Georgia State. They said, Mr. Pope, we got to talk to you. We're going to put you on academic probation. And they kicked me out for a whole year. I think I had a 1.67 grade average, all right? So I thought I was smart. I went down to Clayton State and took classes. I said, I'm going to just take classes down here. Took about 4 or 5 classes, had a 4.0 in Clayton State, tried to transfer it back to Georgia State. You know what they said? Can't do it, brother. You was on academic probation. You should not have been in any Georgia school. So what ended up happening, I think at that point in time, I realized that I could do it. I just had to have the fortitude to do it and the discipline. Make a long story short, it took me 7.5 years to get my first degree, but I graduated Georgia State magna cum laude with a 3.67 grade point. Went from a 1.67 to a 3.67. And I know that's God right there, but I think that I learned that education was vital. I ended up going back to school to get my master's degree. And then some students said, let's go get a specialist degree. The school system will pay you more money for more degrees. I said, let's go. So I went. And then I got my specialist degree. And then in 2011, I actually got my doctorate degree. All right? Now remember, I called my dad on the phone and I said, Dad, I'm changing my name. Because I'm the third too. I said, I don't want to be Burrell Theophilus Pope the third. Because the people always tease me. Teachers always get my name wrong. All right? He said, boy, what you talking about? I said, Dad, now I'm Dr. Burrell Theophilus Pope the third. He was happy about that, all right? So enough about me, but let's talk about education. I work for the Gwinnett County school system, and I've been all over. I started my career off in DeKalb County. I went to Gwinnett County as an administrator, and then I went to Clayton County as an administrator, and then I was the principal at Hopewell Christian Academy for 4 years, and then when we became a charter school, I was the principal, and then I said, you know what, I'm ready to go back to the county, and now I'm the community director over at in the Shiloh cluster in Snellville. So I've been around the block as an administrator, so I kind of see what a lot of parents see as a parent and also as an administrator. But let's just talk about different things that we need to do as a community to help our kids to be successful, all right? I mean, this young lady over here, you did a great job of talking about what parenting is. I mean, that's what we all need to do as parents. But one of the things I realized that research says that poverty, stress, and a reading gap hurts our kids. That's where the achievement gap comes from. Poverty, that's like the number one thing. Research shows that, all right? Number two, stress, and then that reading gap. Do you know a lot of our kids in elementary school, that is the biggest thing we need to work with our kids with, reading. Reading is fundamental. And I know that we hear that a lot on the TV shows, but reading is fundamental. Because as the education ladder goes up, you have to read for every subject.
Yes.
It's not just math, it's just not language arts, it's just not science. But in every academic subject, reading is fundamental. I know kids that can do well at math, but then when they get to third grade and they get word problems, guess what happens? Their comprehension drops dramatically because of the lack of reading skills that child might not possess. And there's all kinds of statistics. I'm not going to give you doom and gloom, but how do we fix that? So from a parent standpoint and an administrative standpoint, let's just talk about a few things that can help our kids with reading. First of all, and I know this parent, the parent you said a lot, you got to encourage our kids to read. All right? Now, it's easy for parents to, encourage your kids to play basketball and to play soccer and to play football. But how often are we encouraging our kids to pick up a book and read? All right? How often are you telling them, hey, if you like basketball, hey, read about LeBron James. Read about Michael Jordan. And that's okay. That's one of the strategies. I was at one school and we had a challenge with kids reading. So what the teacher did, they went and got a library of all the books that the kids liked, from airplanes to dinosaurs. Now, none of it was core information, but that inspired the kids to read. So the kids were running around going to the library, Dr. Pope, I'm reading a book about dinosaurs. Dr. Pope, you know what a Tyrannosaurus Rex is or a Polygophodon? I didn't know what they were saying, but they were excited about reading. And that's the key. We had one kid who read on a first grade level, but he loved cars. So the teacher went and got books on cars, magazines on cars. And do you know what? Just in 1 year, that kid was almost at the proficient level in reading. And he had a desire to read because things interested him. And also, when you're working with the child, focus on what they can do as opposed to what they can't do. I really do believe that sometimes, even for me as a parent, because I'm in the system and you want your child to do so great, and you're always like, that's what you need to be doing, but you gotta work on that. Talk about the things that they're doing great, and then build them up with that. That's how you can help your child. And also, like the parent said, be in there with those teachers. When they're teaching their kids, you need to know what's going on in that classroom. Know what's being taught. Call that teacher, develop that communication. Now, as an administrative side, parents, don't go in there with no attitude, okay? I'm just telling you that from the administrative side. Don't go there, I'm tired of what you're doing, I'm tired of this, because that teacher can't say, it's a hostile environment, and I don't want this parent in my classroom. I mean, that's her legal or his legal right. But understand that it's a partnership. Understand that it's about the teacher, your child, and the whole community to help your child to be successful. So make sure that you work on these things when it comes to elementary school. Now let's talk about middle school. Now middle school is a whole different mindset right there. Kids are going through puberty, hormones are jumping out, boys start liking girls, girls start liking boys. They probably start liking boys early because they start early. You know what I'm saying? But it's different. It's a different beast in middle school. So what do I encourage parents to do in middle school? First of all, this is the time when you start talking to your kids about character. Building character in your child. Because see, at that age, something funny happens because it's something called peer pressure. So if you see somebody doing something wrong because you want to fit in, it's easy to step over there and act the same way as they did. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I remember some boys, that's when we started experimenting with marijuana. And I remember all my 8th grade friends smoking marijuana. And I still remember to this day, they called me Burl T back in the day. Burl T, come on over here and smoke something. And I was like, you know what? I really don't want to smoke. But I didn't tell them that. Because I wanted to fit in. But I kept remembering what my mother said, boy, I will kick your behind if you smoke some marijuana. If I got to come to that school with some drugs, and the big thing, it wasn't even that. I had asthma, so I couldn't even breathe without smoking weed. You know what I mean? So I knew I wasn't going to smoke nothing, put nothing in my body. Because I couldn't hardly breathe it the first time. But the reason what I'm saying that is that this is a time where kids experiment. Now, I did some junk. I just didn't smoke weed. I didn't mess with drugs. But work on your child's character. Start talking about situations that they might face. Have conversations about the things that kids are doing at that age. Have conversations about how you shouldn't do those things and the consequences of those things. And on the flip side of everything, I'm in a school system, and I see what happens to some of our kids when they get a label. Discipline starts at kindergarten. They start keeping a file on you at kindergarten. I used to be a hearing officer in Gwinnett. I remember kids coming in that office with 35 referrals. Now, they might be in high school, but they have a discipline on infraction on their record from the 3rd grade. So I tell people, this stuff is serious, man. So when you go to the office and get that referral, it will follow you. And colleges, what they do now, when they pull that big packet, they just don't look at your academics. They look at their discipline, attendance, extracurriculars, and a whole lot of other things. So parents, be mindful of that, but those are the conversations. And also in middle school, help your kids outside of character get organized. Because see, this is when the rubber start meeting the road in middle school. Work on organization skills. Help them to be organized. Show them how to plan. Show them how to have time management skills. These are some of the things at the high school level I see that some of our kids in the 11th grade don't even understand. We had a job fair one day, and some of the kids came, and really what the job fair was, kids were coming in to be interviewed by a company. It was mock, of course. Some of the kids, and this is at not our school, but schools all through Gwinnett, some of our young brothers were coming there with jeans and a white t-shirt. And this was a professional job interview. So these are things that we have to teach our young boys and our young girls. How to present yourself. There was a study done by Forbes a few years ago, and they said the top 3 things that they look for when they hire these multi-level 6-figure paying jobs. And they said a lot of kids lack social skills. They don't know how to communicate with other folks. Collaborative skills where they can work with other groups. Teams to work on projects lack. And also, just attitude. And the sad thing with some of our younger people, a lot of people got attitudes. You talk to a lot of our young people, some of them just angry. Not just angry like because you got beat up yesterday, they're just angry, I guess what you listening to on your headphones or listening to, whatever, but just angry. Talk to some of our young people. And it's just not blacks. It's just not white. It's culture. It's period all over the place. But helping our young people to know how to present themselves in a powerful way so they can be successful. And the last thing, guys, when it comes to helping our kids academically, we talked about meeting the teachers. And then if all else fails, it's okay to get some tutoring for your child. It's okay. I don't know why sometimes we feel that, man, I'm embarrassed to get tutoring. But it's okay. We all need tutoring. When you go to a job, when it's new, what do? You have someone train you how to do that position. And it's okay. And I'll just share one last story with the Common Core. And schools are different now. Instruction is different now. Now, when Common Core first came out, if you don't know what Common Core is, it's an initiative, so pretty much 42 states will be on the same page, looking at the standards, so everything will be unified across America's rigorous, not really a curriculum, but it's a rigorous standards, put it like that. You can dig deep into the standards, so it's not a curriculum. That was the big issue. It's a curriculum, no, it's not a curriculum. It's more standards-based learning. Now, my daughter, she's in 3rd grade. And I didn't realize how effective this was until a few weeks ago. My daughter's in 3rd grade now. When I was in school, what we did, we had a systematic approach. We learned maybe addition, we learned attraction. Then we learned multiplication. Then when you got all your time tables, then we went to division. Did y'all have to grow up like that as well? But with Common Core, if you've been around it, when they learn multiplication and division at the same time, even if they don't know their timetables, I mean, it's the weirdest thing. But they teach them how to make little lines and what's 6 times 6, so I can do 6 groups of 5, 6, and I can come up with 36. That's how they do the Common Core. But the other day, a light bulb went off and I saw the benefit of the Common Core. My daughter was having trouble with her 3s, so I got on YouTube, found a cool way to do 3s with your fingers, doing this stuff like this, so now she knows her 3s. But as she was doing her 3s, I said, "Babe, what's 3 times 5? She said, 15, Daddy, so she has her 3s. But then she said, you know what? 5 goes into 15 3 times. Like, where do you get that from? That's next. But with the Common Core, that's just my little sideboard, everything is incorporated to help the kids to think on a whole different level. To help them to be more creative, out the box, systematically. And if it's done correctly, that's what happens. It challenged the kids to think more critical as opposed to what is wrote right in front of them. So parents, teachers, wherever you are, counselors, like there's a counselor in here, that's my spiel on education. I love being an administrator. I see things from both sides. I see things from, as an administrator, a parent, and also a teacher and a staff member. But one thing I know that if we don't all work together, the community, parents, and teachers, and that student, our kids won't be as successful as they would if we all work together. So thank y'all for this opportunity to be able to speak, and thank you very much, everybody.
I shaked off a lot. Sorry about it. Didn't
And we
mean
want
to.
to put some questions and answers to them. Y'all, let's give them both a hand right now.
Sorry, didn't mean to shake so much about it.
And I've learned a lot. Back in the day, it just was not this, but y'all were enlightening. So let's see if we have some questions for everybody. Any questions? I do.
Are you familiar with the research, and this is old research, you're probably familiar with it, that jails look at the reading scores of children in the 3rd, 4th grade to determine how they're going to, how many more jails they have to build. So I think that's very profound to let you know the impact of reading, because that leads to, dropout rates and incarceration, et cetera, et cetera.
I think that's a great point because when I was doing research on reading, this was years ago, when I was working on a grant, when I saw that statistic, it blew me out the water. He said that's how they do their guesstimation and estimation on prisons. 3rd grade, 4th grade reading levels. And that is because they know that if a child can't read, they understand more than likely they will be in the prison system. So reading is, it's fundamental, guys.
And as a school counselor, when I work with children, I really stress the point that how many people in jail or college are high school dropouts, because that's very significant too. And then also, speaking to your point regarding employment, the Department of Labor, I believe the commissioner is Butler, talked about 89% of new hirees are fired because of not having those soft skills. So I think that's really important for our high school students to understand that you're hired for what you know, but you're fired for what you do.
Wow.
And a lot of them don't make that connection. They have to understand the communication skills, problem solving, all the fundamentals that we're teaching them at home and in schools. You need to have it when you're employed.
And the sad thing about that is a lot of those classes, like character education, character development, they're taking those out of the schools. There's a stat I was looking at, 60 Minutes, they were talking about the Japan school system. For Japan, they don't even test until middle school. No test at all. But for 1 hour every day, they work on character development. From kindergarten all the way up to middle school, that's the only thing they work on, character development. Because they understand the importance of character and how you carry yourself, how you promote yourself. Understand that your attitude will determine your aptitude. You know what I mean?
And that's why that culture is so disciplined too. Yes.
They instill it. I think in kindergarten through 3rd is 2 hours. Then after that, it's 1 hour every single day, just on character development. Great question.
That's great.
Yes, sir.
So, as a parent raising kids, and you know, you get them through, let's say GCPS, they go to high school. One common thing that's been happening is that they don't want to go to college because it feels pointless because, you know, it's not getting them where they want to go. How do you go about breaking that gap? Because it's, you know, they might feel that then there's no jobs for them, or the degree doesn't mean anything, and so forth and so on. How do you get through that gap and help them see what impact it has for them to not only excel within the lower level education, you know, from K to 12, but college and beyond?
Well, to me, exposure to college early is really what matters. My daughter stepped foot on a college campus the first time at age 8. So at age 8 in 3rd grade, she knew what colleges look like. And we were on different college campuses doing tours every year from that point forward. So when it was time to make decisions about college, it wasn't if you were going, it was when you were going. There was never a question of if. And if you're trying to clean up, say your parent didn't do it in the beginning, and you're in high school and now you're trying to address it, a lot of times it's still the same thing. Take them to a college campus, let them experience that, and almost all colleges will allow kids to sit in the classroom and to experience that and find out what class is really cool. I mean, my daughter's in a class right now at Penn State that has 1,000 students in it, and it's video, and it is the most popular class on that campus. Everybody clamors to get that class. And the guy, it's a sociology class. But the way he teaches it, he engages the entire group. And then their assignments every week is they have to go and share the video with other people, and then those people have to have a dialogue, and you have to culminate all that information together, and then like I have to write a paper, my husband and I each have to write a paper of every video we see, and then we discuss it with her based on the blurbs that we see. So it's opening communication lines, but it's really visibility. The more they see it, the more they get to know it, and the more familiar they are with how, you know, what's expected of them.
And one thing I want to add to that, because I mean, I'm just going to be real. High school, you have a lot of kids who do want to go to college, and then I have a lot of kids who I just don't want to go. I have kids now, they're graduating, they have all their credit, they just don't want to go. And one of the things I tell kids, this is my thing with some kids where I know in that situation where if you don't go to college right now, at least go, a 4-year college, let's go to a trade school, let's do something. And that's one of the things I know I push a lot, because college is not for everybody. I'm just keeping that real, y'all. I mean, y'all might throw an apple at me, but I mean, just from, you know, what kids that I've worked with and kids who I've met with, a coach, and it's just my environment. But I do tell them, hey man, continue your education. I mean, if it's a trade, like even some kids, I know some kids now, they don't want to go to college, but they're in the producing. I mean, there's a lot of schools or, you know, that work with learning how to, you know, produce, but get something. If it's a certificate right now, and then you might say, okay, I want a 4-year degree. Great story. I had a guy, special ed student, named, I don't know the name, but anyway, great kid. I'm giving all of the information. Great kid. I had him in my class, I think almost 12 years ago. And he was struggling with school. But he always knew he wanted to be a heating and air guy, HVAC. In 10th grade, what you want to do, man? I want to go to college, but I want to do heating and air. This guy went to not Gwinnett Tech, DeKalb Technical College. Right, it was like a dual enrollment. And actually, by the time he was 19, he was certified as an HVAC technician. Wow. Now, this guy owns a business probably making $160,000 a year. I mean, it's his own business. But this kid could barely pass a test. But he worked hard, but he knew what he wanted. And that was his thing. Expose him to something that he loved to do. But let him understand that, hey, you got to get something, man. Yeah. I'm not going to accept, I'm just hanging out. You know what I'm saying? I'm just chilling. No, I'm not going to accept none of those things. So that's something that and that's from my area. you know, my truth. Yes, ma'am.
I have, my son is interested into, cars. You could do anything, and everything, he will go into the car and tell you what's going on with the car. But he was very high with his school, you know, getting all the good grades and stuff, and then all of a sudden, he's getting lower because he said, one of the class is not interested, so he doesn't have to put the effort. So that's number one. So I wanted to know how to motivate him to be able to, for that class. And secondly, what things I could, I know we go to the library, you get books and stuff about cars, but is there any like, he's too young to get how do you call that,
Job.
Associate's degree, a certificate.
not a certain, like, I wanted him
love with
internship.
Intern.
I wanted him to expose, because he's not
We help her.
just turned 14, but I wanted him to get exposed into the thing, the cars that, you know, in lights and stuff. I wanted to know where, how to get to start, where to begin, to find, you know, a place, dealership, mechanic, so I mean, whatever it is, to get him exposed as he sees, because he like
Work with his
working
hands.
with hands-ons and stuff. I wanted to know where, how, what direction do I go to expose him to the things that he likes.
So,
Because one example is, I went to a mechanic, the mechanic fixed my car. And then I came home and said, something is wrong with your car. I said, but what do you, now I'm pushing him away, saying, what do you mean, I just paid, you know, 2 people, I went to Walmart, I went to this, I went to that. They fixed it, said, mommy, something is wrong with your car. I'm like, oh, you don't drive, please. Mommy, something is wrong with your car. Take me to the mechanic that fixed your car. And I wanted to talk with the mechanic. I'm like, what? You're 14, what you mean? So finally, I took him, and then he went to the mechanic. He said, something is wrong. You fixed mommy's car. The mechanic said, yes. And he's like, something is wrong with mommy's car. There's something you didn't do. You didn't do this, you didn't do that.
Wow.
And I'm like, so the mechanic was like, oh, we did this, but we forgot to put that.
Wow. So he,
Wow. So
Think
he's
you are
he's got
Yes.
gifting in that.
Definitely talented.
yes.
So I was like, I'm sorry. But I wanted to know how to expose them, you know, what to do, and, you know.
so in my experience, when it comes to stuff like that, because I've run across several kids that have an interest in different things, and I mean, yeah, I'm pro-education college-wise, but I understand college isn't for everyone. All initially, now eventually you get College of Hard Knocks, you get College of something, one way or another.
That's what I
But for example, for something like that, I would reach out to whatever your brand car is. So if you have a Lexus, then I would go to the Lexus dealership and I would ask the service manager, tell him, you know, hey, my son has an interest. Because if you do a one-on-one conversation with someone, they're gonna be interested, they're gonna get engaged. If you have, I mean, or if there's another brand that maybe you don't own, but he has an interest in. So like, I am into fast cars. And so when Porsche came out to Atlanta, I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I have engaged and talked to those people. I got active in the Porsche Clubs of America. I started talking to Porsche mechanics. I have been to the Porsche Experience, and they will do tours. They will engage your child if you have an interest.
Wow.
All you gotta do is pick up the phone and call them. And I mean, it doesn't have to cost. You just tell them what your situation is and what you're looking for, and they will help you find something. And now my experience has been different with dealerships. So German dealerships tend to be a lot more helpful than maybe Asian dealerships. So it just kind of depends on the kind of car you have. I mean, I haven't tried American dealerships, but my experience with German ones, Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, they have been very, very helpful. And I love their vehicles. And I mean, old ones, new ones, it doesn't matter. And I will get up under with the mechanic in a heartbeat and then start asking questions. Well, now it's all computerized, but in the old day, I mean, my father taught me how to change my tire and change my oil, and I could get up under and change brakes. So, I mean, you learn by hands-on. That was how my dad and I bonded. I'm one of 6 kids, but I was the one girl that could take the whole car apart and put it back together because we spent time doing it when he was fixing his car.
That's awesome.
It was interest. So yeah, if he's got an interest, definitely. I mean, get him with find a local dealership. I mean, sometimes they have conventions and the designers of the vehicles are in town. So you do the car show and the designers are there and you can meet them and he can see how they draw and what they're looking at it. I mean, there's so much information. And it's just a matter of, okay, where is he interested? Is it just the engine, or is it how they design the car? I mean, there's so many different parts. There's different kinds of rubber they use for different kinds of tires. That's awesome. So he wants to get into the design aspect.
Yes, it was automotive design and aero something.
Yep, the aerodynamics of it. And that's